Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Best to Worst Albums. He's back, Mr. Butch Jones, SOT writer, good friend of mine, and
Lizzy Fanatic.
And Lizzy Fanatic. So that's what we're doing today, Best to Worst Albums from Thin Lizzy. So you know the drill. We're going to count down what we're going to do, because this is the first time I've had a guest on a Best to Worst show. So instead of going back and forth, we're going to have Butch go through his Best to Worst Thin Lizzy albums, and then I'm going to do all of mine. I don't know what he's picked. I'm not looking. I didn't look at his sheet. I'm not looking at the CD sitting over there, so I'm trying real hard to just put the blinders on. I do want to mention, though, so Butch is a huge Thin Lizzy fan. He's probably the biggest Thin Lizzy fan I know, next to myself. And he was very excited to do this show, but of course, last night he was sending me texts saying, "This is so hard. I feel really bad saying any are the worst. I feel like I'm cheating on them." It's like, and again, this is, we hear this when every guest comes on the show. "Pete, this is so hard. Why couldn't you give me something easy?" Because it wouldn't be fun.
No,
right?
exactly.
It wouldn't be fun. So Butch is going to run through his best to worst Thin Lizzy albums. So we got a dozen of them, and he'll tell you reasons why or any that kind of stuff. But let's just preface this with the fact that neither one of us dislike any Thin Lizzy album. But there are some, obviously, that are much better than others. Yep. And once you get to the creme de la creme, this was really tough for me. Really tough. Because there's certain albums that, like, there's almost no separation there.
No.
Right? So it's just like,
And it's one of those that could change tomorrow, depending on how your mood is.
Yeah.
Honestly, at least the top 3 or 4 could easily.
So it's like Nick Franco said on our Iron Maiden show. He said it's like picking over your children.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So Butch is going to kick us off. Worst does not mean it's terrible. It just means that, in our eyes, the least successful of these albums. So I'll let you run through yours.
Starting from the worst, quote unquote, which really isn't the worst. But my worst bottom Thin Lizzy record is Shades of a Blue Orphanage.
Solid.
It's a solid record. It really is. It's just it's the 3-piece Eric Bell, Lizzy from Ireland, trying to get out of the 60s and get into the 70s and trying to find her way. But there are some really cool songs on this. Sarah is a great song.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Call the Police is actually a really cool song.
I like Call the Police. Yeah,
Babyface is a cool song. Yeah. So that's my bottom of the barrel of Lizzy. The next one would be Thin Lizzy, trying to
debut.
Get
that glare out.
So that would be my next one. This has some great stuff on it too.
Kind of folky.
It's very folky.
Yeah.
But Phil Lynott's publishing company that he had was Pippin the Friendly Ranger, and the Friendly Ranger shows up on the first song. Yeah. So at least it shows some lineage. I don't know. It's a cool song, but it's very it's a good album. Excuse me. It's
not one that I reach for that often.
No, I don't either. But believe me, when I was getting into Lizzy when I was a kid, the track down that stuff, it took a lot of effort to find it, which was cool. My next one is Vagabonds of the Western World, with a really cool cartoon cover by Jim Fitzpatrick, who is the man.
Yeah.
He's on Facebook, and he is very active on Facebook. I see his stuff all the time. That's
pretty good album.
This is a pretty good record, for sure.
That's them kind of finding their way.
Starting to find their way.
Yeah.
Gonna creep up on you. There's some, and of course, the song, unfortunately, that Metallica has made famous, and I don't ever need to hear again. The Rocker is on Vagabonds. So if you're a Lizzy fan and you want to hear their version of it that made it why Metallica did it, it's on that record.
Good too.
Now to me is where we get into what I call the real Lizzy. So the real Lizzy for me starts at Nightlife. Gary Moore's on it a little bit. And this is where we get the beginning of the tag team of Robbo and Scott Gorham. So this is great. So Only Money's on this. She Knows. There's some really cool stuff on that. So that's my next one.
Little mellow.
But
great songwriting.
Great song. You can see that they're starting to get it together with the twin guitar thing.
Yep.
I'm probably going to make a lot of people really upset right now. But I'm sorry. But again, I love it. It's not like I don't love it. But my next up is Chinatown. Now, I love Snowy White. Snow White probably wasn't the greatest pick to join after Gary Moore and after Mid-Year and all that, but there, this just the riff alone in Chinatown, which I believe is a Scott Gorham riff, that is just iconic. That riff. So that
this album has aged pretty well, I think.
I think so. It's was produced kind of weird. It's got its own tone for it, for sure.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's my next. Can you feel my pain, people? Renegade. Man, Angel of Death.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh man, this is
that makes it worth hearing just for that, right? But yeah, but it has actually some really good tunes.
It has some really good tunes on it. It's that in between Lizzy. Some great. I love Fats. Fats is a killer tune on that record, and obviously you got Hollywood on it. So right there, just for Angel of Death, Renegade, and Hollywood, it's worth it. That's a great one. Okay, kids, this is where the pain for me really starts to hit.
Ouch! I did not expect that.
It was a lot of crossing out on my pad yesterday.
I did not
expect fighting. This. I have said for a really long time that this is my favorite Thin Lizzy record.
That's why I'm in shock.
It absolutely has my favorite song of Lizzy of all time, hands down. The song Freedom Song that I don't know how many people even know. Unless you're a deep Lizzy fan, you probably never even have heard that song. But Freedom Song is everything that Phil Lynott was about. His storytelling, phenomenal. Suicide's on this record. Oh my God.
The haunting spirit slips away.
Oh. And for anyone that loves twin guitar playing with Brian Robertson and Scott Gorham on this, Wild One, it's not a heavy song, but their guitar work throughout that whole song, the twin guitar work, is a textbook. Brilliant. And I was really fortunate, and you were at that show too, when Vivian Campbell was in Thin Lizzy for a little while. And they brought that back and played it live. To see them play that song live was pretty cool. Astonishing. Yeah. So I got past fighting. That hurt. The one that probably a lot of people put as number one.
Yeah.
Jailbreak. This has gained a lot of steam over the years for me. It was, to me, early on, it was, the album that's got Boys Are Back in Town and Jailbreak on it and Cowboy Song. But as I've gotten older, I mean, obviously, I think all of us heavy guys, Emerald, it's
Warriors.
Oh.
Angel from the Coast.
Angel from the Coast, and I love Running Back, and I love Romeo the Lonely Girl. It's just, it's an awesome, awesome record, and Brian Robertson is the star guitar player on this record. I love Robbo so much. I've never seen him play live, unfortunately, and I hope that he comes back to the States so I can see him. But this is a brilliant record, but I had to put it someplace, and it couldn't be number one for me, so I had to figure out where to go. So now, this is where, so now we're into the last four, and this is really oh boy. Black Rose, Gary Moore, brilliant record. The song Black Rose just, jeez.
Genius, right?
Oh my God. It probably, maybe my second favorite song of all time. Got to Give It Up.
Waiting for an Alibi.
Oh, it just is, I have to just move on.
This is so painful.
It hurts.
It's so painful. Oh, there's a great one right there.
Brian Robertson is not on the cover of this. He was a bad boy at this time. They were mad at him. He does play on some of the songs on this record. And I'll tell you right now, I love Scott Gorham. I've gotten the chance to meet Scott Gorham and talk with him for a while. Great guy. Great guitar player. Robbo kicks his butt on this record.
But however, you got to give Scott a lot of credit because he handled the bulk of what's on here.
He
did a damn good job.
He stepped up and
he's not as flashy a soloist as Brian.
No,
that's what it is. But man, pulls in a good performance.
Oh my goodness! But the song "Bad Reputation," Opium Trail, forget it.
Trail's awesome.
So, if you guys haven't figured out yet what the last two, and this is painful so much. Thunder and Lightning.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people want to say that it's the metal record. It is the metal record. And who gives a shit? It's fucking phenomenal. This is the greatest album of a band that said, we're going to hang it up after this album. This is our final record. If you can tell me a record that beats this as your final record, I would love to know what it is. John Sykes crushes on this record. He gives them so much life on this record. There is not a bad song in this album.
True.
I really wanted to make this my number one, just with having Sykes involved, which I think anyone that knows me, because John Sykes is my hero, I think most people would expect that, but I couldn't because there's Johnny the Fox.
A great one.
I was turned on by this record from John Bush from Armored Saint. He had told me years ago in the 80s when I was getting into all this stuff, he's like, you got to find the album Johnny the Fox. I couldn't find it. This is way before the internet. This is where you were trying to find stuff used on vinyl because Lizzy was never big over here. I found it at a used record store visiting my friend at Boston College in 1989, I think. And I couldn't listen to it at his dorm because he didn't have a record player. I had to wait to get home. And putting on that first song, listening to Johnny, it was over. Borderline
Fool's Gold
is a great ballad. Fool's Gold, Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed, Massacre,
one of my favorites. Oh. Yeah. So what's really interesting, without giving too much away, is that you and I had a discussion about favorite Thin Lizzy albums maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And at the time, both of our picks are not what we picked today. And in fact, we flip-flopped ours.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So I'm giving it all away, but that was my number one a couple years ago.
Okay.
And my number one is what you said was your number one, which now is all the way down.
Wow.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, here, let me.
So let's throw these over. You can talk a little Thin Lizzy for a second while I arrange mine.
Guys, this Lizzy means so much to me. I try to turn anyone I can that'll listen to me that's never been much of a fan or never heard much of Lizzy. I try to turn people on to Lizzy every day. They were such an important band. Phil Lynot's lyrics, and the guy was a poet. He released 2 books of poetry. He was just phenomenal. And it's a shame. There's another guy that died way too young. He died when he was 36 years old. I remember we were talking before about, I remember exactly where I was when I found out that he died in 1986. I had just graduated high school the year before, so I was 18, and man, that was devastating. I was just getting into them, and really heavily getting into them, I should say, and then he was gone.
Yeah, sad. He was just in a bad way for quite a long time.
Quite a long time.
Yeah, quite a long time. All right, so my initially is going to look pretty similar to Butch's for the most part. So coming in is my worst, but again, not terrible by any means. The first album, again, kind of folky, kind of bluesy. The band just really trying to find their way. Same thing here. I'm going to do Shades of a Blue Orphanage, which, maybe like ever so slightly more than the debut. I kind of like these both about the same, so they could flip-flop just like you did.
Yeah.
I will say this is a big improvement for me towards that classic Thin Lizzy sound. There's actually a lot of good tunes on here, and you gotta love the artwork and everything like that. So, all right, so here's where we're gonna start differing a little bit. So, and this kind of pained me because I do like this album quite a bit. But I picked Renegade next.
Ooh.
But again, there's some great stuff on here. You know what it was? It was a choice between these two, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna give the classic lineup over this any day. But I do like Renegade quite a bit. Nightlife is a strong album. I find it a little mellow, but even the mellow tunes are just so memorable and so melodic. And again, you're getting this first glimpse of the dual guitar harmonies, right? Which we're experimenting here, but you're like, whoa, that's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they were thinking, we probably should do more of that.
Exactly.
Right? Not that they were the first band to ever do it, but they were doing it in a way that was quite unique. So next up for me is I'm going to go with Chinatown. Again, like I said earlier, I think an album that's I probably wasn't as high on this album a couple of years ago, but the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's actually a pretty damn good album. And, the production, like you said, is a little different.
Yeah.
But some really good tunes on here.
Absolutely.
So, all right, so now, this stuff, I found this ridiculously hard. Again, how much this really means to anybody, I don't know. I did Black Rose next. Again, there's nothing to dislike about this album. It's got Gary Moore in full form on here.
Absolutely.
The one and only, full-time album that he did with the band, but a great album. I had these two flip-flopped, and I couldn't decide. Again, I went with the this was, I had the Live and Dangerous album first, and then this album came out, and I was at the time. So this was what 83. So at the time, I was big into like Scorpions and Rainbow and Priest and Maiden and all that, Deep Purple, Zeppelin, Sabbath, all that kind of stuff. And I had Live and Dangerous. But then this album came out, and we had heard this, and then all you had to see was this, and how metal is that, right? So I was like, gotta get it, and then I was like, holy crap, this is pretty damn heavy. And I had the Tigers of Pantang album out, sitting Crazy Nights before this,
okay,
and I remember loving that, and like, ooh, that guitar player is really damn good, right? And then this came out. And then by the time you got this, Thin Lizzy was no more, and then he was already in Whitesnake. Yeah. So, I followed John Sykes ever since.
Of course.
So, but yeah, Butch is absolutely correct. There is not a bad song on this. And again, at any given day, this could slot in higher. I love it. I've always loved this. I used to have this on cassette. I used to play it over and over and over and over and over again. Great songs, right? A little bit different, but different is good.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Bad Reputation next. A great, for the title track alone, which is one of my top 5 favorite Thin Lizzy songs of all time. But Opium Trail is a absolute drop-dead classic. Southbound is great. It's Soldier Fortune. It's all good. All good. So here we have it. So for a bunch of years, this was actually my favorite Thin Lizzy album. And like I said, he and I had a conversation a couple of years back where we were talking about favorite Thin Lizzy albums. He was like, for me, it's Fightin'. Yeah. And I'm like, I love Fightin' a lot. But I think this is my favorite. And over the last year or so, I still love this to death. Yep. But all of a sudden, the one that was my favorite, that was your favorite, the one that was my favorite, this one is now dropped down to number 3 in favor of the one that used to be his favorite that now dropped way down. So go figure. But like I said, ask us this in a month.
Yeah.
We might even say different things again. So
I'm sure we would.
So this album is just absolutely perfect. And, I've said this numerous times on this show. The Boys Are Back in Town, to me, is not their best song. It's not even the best song of this album. And to me, I don't even think the Boys Are Back in Town is a top 20 best song for Thin Lizzy. I don't think. I could think of 20 songs better.
Yeah. I mean, it probably deserves to be in the top 20. But, yeah, I don't know if I would have it in mind.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, it's just great album. Great album.
It is.
So when I did this is interesting too. When I did my top 10 songs of Thin Lizzy, 2 months ago or whatever, I spoke how this has been my favorite Thin Lizzy album for a little bit. But yet none of my top 10 songs came from this album.
Really?
Yeah. But wow. I think this is the most consistently good Thin Lizzy album.
Okay.
So, in other words, every song is just such high quality, but yet none of them made my top 10 songs. How weird is that, right?
That is. And
weird. I love a lot of these tunes.
Yeah.
I mean, really do. So, that was crazy. But yeah, when I put on a Thin Lizzy album and I listen to this one, start to finish, you get that nice kind of warm and fuzzy feel because every song, it's just paced really well.
Yeah.
Every tune is good. There's a lot of variety on it. And not that these are not, but today, this is my top pick.
So nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but again, if we were to do this again in a few months from now or whatever, it might be a little bit different. But I will say probably, obviously, the first 3, good for what they are, but you can't go wrong with any of these.
Yeah.
You really can't. I mean, it's just, some are a little better than others, but I would say these right here: Black Rose, Thunder and Lightning, Bad Reputation, Johnny, Jailbreak, and Fighting.
Yeah.
There's almost no separating them, right?
Yeah.
They're that good. And, for me, the next tier down, although great as well, are these.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you really can't go wrong with any of
No.
these. So, if you're not listening to Thin Lizzy, what the hell are you waiting for? Right?
Get with it here.
Get with the program.
There is some great stuff just waiting for you. And the thing that'll be funny is if you're not a big Lizzy fan, when you do go and discover it, you're gonna hear stuff that's, hey, that sounds like Iron Maiden. No, because it sounds like Iron Maiden got that from Thin Lizzy. But it's all depends on when you get involved in something, when you find it.
Yeah.
But that's those Lizzy records right there. They're textbooks.
Yep. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
And, might as well mention a couple live albums. So, Live and Dangerous is their big famous one.
Yep.
And it's one of the best live albums of all time. But they've got a couple other ones that are really good. In fact, I love the last one they did right before they split up. The Still Life or Still Live. How's it?
The one with Sykes on it?
The one with Sykes and Moore and
Yeah.
the whole shebang on there. That one's great. And then there's the other ones that they've released in recent years from throughout the year. And there's some really good ones.
And the one that they redid, that's the Still Dangerous.
Yes, that's
the
one
show from Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's awesome
that's really good.
Yeah,
that sounds really good.
Yeah. So it's good stuff. So a great band, an underrated band, and I think a band that's got all these years later is kind of picking up steam as far as getting more people into them. I think a lot of people really appreciate the Thin Lizzy music nowadays more than they did 30 years ago.
Yeah, and and there's been some really big bands that have done covers of Lizzy too. Anthrax and Metallica, obviously and Megadeth did a cover too, and there's been a lot of underground bands that have done a lot of Lizzy covers, a lot of deep covers too.
Yep.
I think Heathen did Cold Sweat. I think it was Heathen.
They might have
one of those bands did Cold Sweat. There's some, and I think actually that's what Megadeth did too. They did Cold Sweat.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So this Lizzy has touched a lot of people. They never got as big as they should have gotten, but they touched a lot of people, and that's important.
Yeah. So if all you know is boys are back in town, man, are you missing out?
You're missing out for sure.
You're missing out. So that's it, guys. Best to worst albums, Thin Lizzy. Visit us on the web at www.seattranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube quite often. I want to thank Butch Jones for coming in and joining us on this. This was a lot of fun, and we'll have him back. So let's hear your best to worst albums in the comments and feedback below. We'd love to see it, see how yours is different from ours. Again, these lists could change any day.
I'm sure that, and have fun doing those lists because it hurt me to do mine. So I hope it hurts you to do yours.
I'm glad to help out and give you all that hurt, my friend. So,
but
anyway,
it was fun.
See you soon, guys. Take care. Thanks for chumming.